Hey everybody, this is Perch, and it's Thursday, so we have news of a new X-Men title. Actually, we have news of quite a bit. Kind of the reign of X is was announced and kind of officially rolled out at the conclusion of Ten of Swords. This was late last year. However, it almost feels like the reign of X started in March or more recently. Because a number of things have started to land. First off, we got the Children of the Atom, #1 title, finally after a year's delay by Vita Ayala and Bernard Chang. I understand Bernard Chang's not the ongoing artist of that book, so I'm curious kind of what that looks like by the time we get to issue 4 or so. We'll hear more. There'll be more on this in a moment. But we have Way of X, which is coming imminently, I think in a week, by Cy Spurrier. We have X Corp, which is Teenie Howard's second book. And then in June, we get, of course, the Hellfire Gala, which is, among a number of things, going to name a new X-Men team. And now we have news that in July, the following month, we now have a brand new X-Men #1. So X-Men, the core title, is relaunching. And it is relaunching not under Jonathan Hickman, but will be relaunching under Gerry Duggan and Pepe Larraz. Now, I have a hard time believing that Pepe Larraz is the ongoing artist for that book. And this is the same team that is doing Planet-Sized X-Men #1 in June. So it's possible that this is a mistake or it's labeled wrong or something to that effect. But I don't think so. I think that this is July 2021. It is labeled as X-Men with a new #1, not Uncanny X-Men, just X-Men. And it is Gerry Duggan taking over the writing reins. Of course, his series Cable just ended, so that makes some level of sense, and I suppose. And so that's kind of the first big fallout. It's also the first major relaunch of the X-Men line. They almost made it 2 years without without relaunching a title. By the way, I should say at this point, although I'm sure the strong, big X-Men fans who, whenever I do a video on the X-Men and make some jokes about the amount of titles they have, I get a lot of anger. I show up on that, somewhere in the Xavier files as a hater. Please just listen to the end. I promise. I'm being fair about this. When you've got this many titles and you've been collecting the X-Men like I have for over 40 years, you can make a few jokes. I've earned it. I'm just going to say, I've earned it. They're all in good fun. August now brings us a brand new X-Men #1, a new X title of some kind from Leah Williams. She's the writer for X Factor, and Valerio Schetti, who is the current artist for Sword, but seemingly won't be by the time August rolls around. And so Sword will be getting a new artist of some kind, so Valerio can be on this new book. We don't know what this is. If you can, the classified covers something that says the, and then we can't tell what the other word is, but the something that where the second letter is an R or a B. So the something. I don't see an X title in there, but who knows? But this is Leah Williams' second title, assuming that X Factor is not canceled. X Factor's numbers were slightly lower last I looked than Cable's, and Cable just got canceled. So maybe this is Leah Williams moving on to another book. The X-Men creative team, they seem to want to make sure they're keeping people on. If they like somebody as part of the club, and from what I can tell, it's a very tight-knit group, then they work very hard to make sure that person has a book, so they stay, part of the X-Men family. And so it's too early to speculate. Is Leah Williams getting 2 books, or one? Teenie Howard has 2 books with X Corp, so maybe Leah Williams is getting 2 books. Vita Ayala has 2 books. So who knows? And then finally, in terms of titles, in September of 2021, Jonathan Hickman's name reappears as part of some kind of new redacted unknown team or unknown book for the X-Men world. Many people speculate Moira because whenever there's any new title, people speculate Moira. I feel like that's either going to get drug out for a while, or they've let the anticipation build far further than and the ability to deliver on that anticipation. But Jonathan Hickman is paired up with some artist that we don't know because it's redacted. But if you look really closely, you could see that it says artist. So, there's no real clues coming there for the name that is redacted. Marvel has done this before, by the way. They kind of shade out the words, or they look very carefully, and they'll blur it so you think they're if you get your magnifying glass in Photoshop and you really look carefully, you can figure out who it is, and then you realize it says the artist or writer or classify. They're not giving you anything. There's no way to actually sneakily tell. But anyway, so what does all this mean? Well, it means that we're getting at least 2 new X books, one by Leah Williams, one by Jonathan Hickman. We're getting a relaunch of the X-Men title. Again, first relaunch from the Reign of X era. And this is Gerry Duggan taking over the reins of the core, quote-unquote, core X-Men book. Don't know if this means that, the thing kind of shifts over a little bit, and whatever Jonathan Hickman's doing in September becomes the new core overarching book. But the titular X-Men team is in July. There were lots of speculation that they were going to change it to like X people or X folks or X individuals or something to get the men out of the title. I said at the time that was very unlikely. X-Men is a brand. It's a brand that Disney wants to make movies around. It's got a lot of existing IP, and you're not just going to erase it because you're trying to satisfy 2021 Twitter. And sure enough, this is, we're relaunching this as X-Men. There's not X-Men and women and others. It's just X-Men because that's the brand they built. And then, the other kind of news in all this is this kind of continual, Jonathan Hickman not fading to the background exactly, but he's definitely setting into more of a showrunner or editor role as opposed to an ongoing writing. I would be unsurprised if this September title of his is either bi-monthly or a limited series, because Hickman's books have been significant delayed. He's more MIA in a lot of the meetings. He's being phased out to some extent. And when I say he's being phased out, I don't mean like the sneaky conspiracy Marvel is kind of pushing him to the side, or Teenie Howard's drugging him and carrying him around. I mean that he's more just I think he's doing that. He's opting to doing less and probably being more of kind of that editorial role. He's not doing a monthly book. And that's not terribly surprising, given kind of what Jonathan Hickman likes to do, but maybe disappointing for people who really viewed Hickman as kind of the centerpiece. I think over the next year, we will see less and less of Hickman's name being the core of the X universe. But I may be wrong about that. The other piece that may come in here is this Jonathan Hickman #1 book may not be a ongoing series at all, but may be the start of the fall, winter event. Because we are getting another crossover coming in the September, October, November timeframe, like last year with Ten of Swords. There will be another crossover event. It is coming during that time period, and that will, just like Ten of Swords did, cross over all the books. Which leads me to kind of the final conclusion in all this. For X-Men fans, if you like the current batch of books, this is a great time for you. You're getting lots of books. They're adding to it. They're kind of keeping within the family of creators. You're getting a lot of the same kind of content. Happy days. You're getting more of what you want. The challenge here is that the numbers for these books aren't huge. They're not as high as they launched. Some are lower than average of what Marvel's putting out. And if you're enjoying this, you may say, well, I don't care about the numbers. I don't need to. I just enjoy the books. And that's a totally fair opinion. It's completely fine. You don't need to care about the numbers. I mean, I show the numbers, but that shouldn't take away from your enjoyment. I enjoy lots of things that don't sell particularly well. The challenge is that when you keep putting more and more books on this, it increases the likelihood that one day it all collapses. So if you like all this stuff, this isn't necessarily great news that we're continuing to expand. Like any bubble, whether it's a housing market bubble or a stock market bubble or a comic book bubble in the 90s, expansion without the financial stability underneath it causes it to fall apart. So of all the people who should want kind of this to slow it down a little bit and be careful and be stable, it's the X-Men fans. You who are loving these books should want it to be secure, or it's going to fall apart on you, and then nobody will get anything. So I worry about that. Just it is a lot. I will pay one last compliment to the X books. I'm feeling particularly generous here. I think that this is a little bit insane, and I've seen the argument. Well, you don't have to buy all of them. Yeah, but they want you to. I mean, come on. Of course Marvel wants you to buy all of them. That's why they do crossovers where all the books cross into each other. That's why they keep the trade dress consistent, and that's why they do the data sheets together. They want you to buy them all. Of course you don't have to. You don't have to buy anything. Nobody's putting a gun to your head saying you have to buy all the X-Men books. Nobody, when you walk into the store, nobody says you can't buy, this copy of X-Force unless you buy Children of the Atom and Way of X. Nobody does that. Of course they don't. That's obvious. But they want you to buy all the books. Of course they want you to buy all the books. But I'll end on a positive note here. The one thing that I can say about the X-Men world and kind of the marketing and all the rest is, even though I think this is a bit of a zoo, it is dramatically better than the Avengers lineup or pretty much any marketing effort that DC's doing right now. At the very least, we've got a font, we've got colors, we've got a consistent way of displaying things. They're showing a roadmap of comics there with some sense of what's coming up in the future. Even though this is, in my opinion, way too much, I will give them credit for, attempting to market this in a coherent way. I'm not a fan of what the product they're marketing, but lots of people are. X fans are, so good. But at least they're doing it. Many other lines in Marvel and DC are not doing anything like this. They're just saying, well, here's our books. Good luck finding them. So I mean, at least we've got dates here. We've got some titles here. I got to hand up to that. They're making an attempt. So there you go. We'll end on a positive note. Hey, what do you think about all this? 2 new X books or 3 new X books, depending on how you look at it. A relaunch and 2 X books. Are you excited about Gerry Duggan taking over X-Men? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.